We thought they were dead and buried. We thought they were finished. And then they go and do that? Everton's miraculous win against Brighton by 5-1 is one of the turnarounds of the season. It's one of the shocks of the season. But how did they do it? Join me today as we discuss how Everton smashed Brighton and kept their Premier League survival hopes alive. Please like the video and subscribe, it really would mean a lot to me. But now, let's talk about how Everton smashed Brighton. Here we have both sides. We have Brighton on the left and Everton on the right. Everton obviously winning this game by 5-1, but it's really the way that Brighton play and the way that Brighton set up that really stopped themselves from making the most of the opportunities and the chances and the possession that they had. It also needs to be said that Everton need to be given massive credit for the way that they played. Iwobi and McNeil were absolutely sensational, as was every single Everton player really, but in particular those two, and Doucouré was a man possessed. But what do I mean when I say that it was almost Brighton's fault? Well, when Brighton like to go forwards and you look at the way they play and their patterns of play, what ends up happening is that Estupiñán and Gross end up coming forward. So does Buonanotte and Mitoma. Buonanotte, who I thought might have been a question mark in this game, by the way, and same with Undav. I thought McAllister being a little bit more further forward might have been a little bit better, and they also might have been a little bit more defensively solid. That being said, I don't think you can have too many complaints with the team selection from Roberto De Zerbi. So, when Brighton like to go forward, what ends up happening is that Estupiñán goes forwards, Mitoma goes forwards, and they allow them to have overloads. And when you get overloads, it means you are dragging players out to certain sides. And that means that Brighton are able to switch the play or play through the possession, through the defensive transition of Everton, and it means that they end up getting 2v1s quite a lot of the time. It means that their possession just has that little bit more importance and they create opportunities for the forwards. And what ends up happening is something like this. Here is what Brighton really looks like going forwards. You have Estupiñán and Mitoma on the left. You have Gross and Buonanotte coming inside in this certain instance on the right-hand side. And this means that when they do end up switching the play through the midfielders, through the defensive midfields, it means that they do it quickly, they have overloads, and they have the ability to really beat players one-on-one. It also means that they have enough players forward to be able to flood the box. However, what ends up happening when doing this is that you're exposing yourself to quite a lot of danger out on the flank, specifically for Dunk and Webster, because one of their main drawbacks, even though they're very good on the ball, they're very good at passing through, is they're not necessarily too mobile, and it means that they need to do a lot of running to cover these channels. And when you have players that are willing to run day after day after day in the form of McNeil and Iwobi, what you end up happening is continuous transition. Now, Brighton weren't able to hold up the ball well enough because of the way that Everton set up. If you have a look at the way that they really had their average positions, Brighton hit a wall around about midway through this Everton defensive line, and you can tell that by the likes of Welbeck and Undav, who really should be so many yards further forward based on their average positions. And based on the way that Brighton like to set up and the way they like to play, Welbeck needs to be occupying the defenders a lot more. Undav needs to be making sure that he's able to drop into the pockets, but there were no pockets available. What ended up happening was you had the likes of Garner, Gay, Doucouré really dominating this midfield area, and it meant that Brighton couldn't play through the likes of Everton. Everton were encouraging them to go along the wings. They were encouraging them to go forwards, making sure that they were trying to create those overloads, but in committing more players forward, especially down the wings, you start exposing the likes of Webster and Dunk. And this means that that transitional play is always on for Iwobi, always on for McNeil, and Calvert-Lewin, to be fair to him, to give him his credit, he did a fantastic job of holding up the ball when Everton really needed him to. When they needed to get clear, he was holding up the ball continuously, and it just made life an absolute nightmare for Brighton. And they were continuously on the transition, continuously running back towards their own goal, and there were so many chances that Everton created through the likes of McNeil, through the likes of Iwobi, that really looked like this. And it meant that Estupiñán and Mitoma were further forward, so were Gross and Buonanotte. Webster and Dunk end up tracking back towards their own box. But look at this, you have Iwobi, you have Calvert-Lewin, you have McNeil, Doucouré always supporting, that's where he got his first 2 goals from. Then you have James Garner as well. And it also means you have a back 4 that's just sat here, meaning that they can't get counted on themselves. Idrissa Gana Gueye does a good job of shuffling across with Welbeck and Undav. And generally you have 5 going forwards, 5 defending. There's a good balance to this Everton side, and I think Sean Dyche read this game perfectly. He's a very, very clever and astute tactical manager, and when they like to go forwards, they go forwards with drive, with determination, and that's the bare minimum that Sean Dyche gets out of his team. But also, I think we overlook his tactical nous, because really, in this, he's forced Brighton to go around the sides. He's packed in the midfield, making it difficult for the likes of Welbeck and Undav to get on the ball. That's why their positions are so deep. It's because of the defensive capabilities of Mina, Tarkowski and Gay. It means that James Garner and Doucouré, when they do drop in, it forces Brighton out wide, which further commits players, and then the transition. When that transition happens, the game is on, and it means that Doucouré, it means that Iwobi, it means that McNeil and Calvert-Lewin are able to run at Brighton, and generally Dunk and Webster will not be able to deal with it. It's a brilliant tactical plan from Sean Dyche, which happened time after time again, and I think the one disappointing thing would be De Zerbi did not see it, or if he did see it, it just was something that he didn't change, and that's the most baffling thing to me. It clearly was not working. Brighton were not getting enough chances even though they had the possession. They were being goated into playing through the wide areas rather than going through the middle. They should have changed something, they should have altered something. The long balls from Webster just didn't work because of the presence of Mina and Tarkowski. Dunk trying to play through the lines didn't work because of the defensive play of Garner and Doucouré, and what ended up happening, like I said, was this far too many times. Overloads, which is exactly what Brighton like. You have overloads in midfield, you have overloads on the wing, especially through the transition and the counter-attack, which happened time after time again. A couple of mistakes as well that need to be mentioned from Brighton's side, and Everton were laughing. They thoroughly deserved that, and I thought they put in a proper performance. Perhaps the performance that will keep them up. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave the video with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this coming very soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well. You don't want to miss what's coming up in the near future. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on Everton and Brighton and that crazy game. How impressed were you by Everton, and do you think they're going to stay up? Do they go down for you? Where do you see Everton finishing come the end of the season? Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. And that's it from me for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care of yourselves and bye-bye.